First off, let me preface this episode by saying Michelle Obama is a good first lady. She was a great first lady. Her most controversial issue was that she was like, hey, maybe your kids don't need to be that fat. She never wore any clothing or a coat that said, I don't care that families are being separated. Having said all that, there was one thing that she was completely wrong about, 1000% wrong about. And that's when she said, when they go low, we go high.
Trump is the new Adolf.
If this is your first time at the Chud Report, you end up liking this episode, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're an OG, hit that like, and let's get into it. I have to say, something like 95% of the political conversations I get in with Republicans these days, in person or online, maybe 98% of the conversations I get in with Republicans, they get their info from either a meme they read somewhere or a headline. And the internet has only compounded this problem because you no longer see who you're having a discussion with. They all hide behind profiles, behind avatars. And as Cat Turd pointed out to all of us, when you eventually do get to see who they are, there's some mustard on my shirt chud who looks like they haven't showered in a week. For me, political discussions used to be you sit down, you're having a beer, you're sitting across from somebody, you get to see them, and you operate in an arena of facts. Or at least in the spirit of a discussion. And that is definitely not what we have today. You're expected to take the high ground from a party that's buying $60 Bibles from a guy so he can raise money to pay off his rape case? What did I just say?
Because of his growing legal bills, reportedly, Donald Trump is now selling Bibles for $60.
$60.
And they are advertised as, quote, the only Bible endorsed by President Trump.
The only Bible endorsed by President Trump. Moral high ground with these people. First and foremost, maybe it's always been like this. Maybe I'm just getting exposed to it. Being in college, being around politics all my life. Maybe I'm just getting exposed to how half of this country are just dumb. But one of the first times I really noticed the change, for me, was back in 2016, when they go low. As many of you know, I'm from a small coal mining town in Utah. A woman from back home, we'll call her Linda. Linda began posting pictures of Michelle Obama, comparing her to a monkey, comparing her to a man when they go low. Pretty disgusting stuff to see right out the gate. I mean, we went through a lot with Obama. But this whole latching on to Michelle and the blatant racism of all, the way that those Obama years emboldened these terrible people to be so public with their terrible views and their terrible takes. One of the dumbest things you could do is get in a fight on the internet, get in a fight online. Even more dumb is getting in a fight on Facebook, right? But Linda just kept going. Linda, who cheated on her husband, left her family for another man in our small town, the worst kept secret. Linda, the town bicycle. When she started posting that somehow Michelle Obama, who she was still comparing to a monkey, had no class, but Melania finally restored class to the White House. I broke out the pictures, the raunchy ones. Not the ones of Linda, but the ones of Melania. Back in her Slovenian escort days, I would say I went low. Linda, the 18-speed, just couldn't believe they were real. It blew her small mind. She couldn't believe that a black woman who went to Harvard somehow had more class than a Slovenian escort, all because of skin color. Were any minds changed that day? I don't know. But Linda quit posting that bullshit. Another person, a family friend of ours, she got married in a hot tub, probably peed while it was going on during the wedding. Someone Linda would probably say is a pinnacle of class because she's white. She was the very first person that I knew outside of the internet that started posting the actual Russian propaganda. What we'd come later to know was in Cambridge Analytica's docket. The first one she came out of the gates with was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. Trump wanted the tallest building in Manhattan. That's not the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. We all know that that's totally something he'd be obsessed with. He wanted the tallest building in Manhattan. So what did he do? He cheated like he cheats on everything else. He put up a flag with a huge flagpole so that it was technically the tallest. New York City fined him for this every day. And instead of paying the fine, I know, can you imagine Trump not wanting to pay his bills? Instead of paying the fine, he negotiated to only pay half of it, half of what he owed to the vets. The propaganda spin was that he was so patriotic, this draft dodger. This draft dodger who said troops are suckers when they go to war. He was so patriotic, he just had to fly that flag. That was the propaganda. And that's what Hot Tub Chrissy was sharing every day, on top of a whole trove that was being delivered to her by these accounts, presumably ran by Cambridge Analytica. You see, Hot Tub Chrissy here never talked about this stuff in person. She never brought it up. She brought it up online, where she was safe from any criticism. So she'd follow up. I think she followed up with like 10 more fake stories, with nobody calling any of it out. Nobody liking these stories, but nobody saying, hey, you're full of shit. They say never argue with a fool because at a distance, people can't tell who is who. Let me tell you something about this country. A good chunk of it are worse than fools. They're complete morons. And if you show up, you push up your glasses and you say, actually, Trump was trying to have the tallest building. It's all in these articles here. He didn't want to pay the full fine, so blah, blah, blah. The morons won't understand you because you're not speaking moron. These are your FJB, Hunter Biden's laptop. I identify as an Apache helicopter. That's these people, right? These are the Republicans. If you start a conversation about literally any political subject, marginal tax rates, in about 1 minute, if they even make it that long, they'll somehow start talking about trans issues again. But I'm here to tell you, when you use the vernacular of the morons, when you go at them, like they come at us, they get more engaged. Were any minds changed that day? I don't know, but that floating piece of trash in her hot tub quit doing her propaganda dumps. I mean, at least she quit doing them on a profile with her face and name. I'm sure she has alt accounts everywhere, like they all do. And it's not just the low info people. 2016 showed me a high up gay accountant at a major studio sharing the most outlandish stories about Hillary I've ever heard. As many of you know, I wasn't a huge Hillary fan. But before 2016, this guy was normal. He was cool. We actually hung out a couple times. But after 2016, he started posting stories that Hillary was going to die in 4 months. Like National Enquirer level bullshit. Because he was a higher up, kind of involved in some of the stuff I was doing at the time, calling this out could actually hurt my career. But as forementioned, it's mouth, right? It's mouth on me. What could you do? You see, David was from a wealthy family. He had this plush job now. He knew if he came out and said, oh, I just want to vote for Donald Trump because he'll cut my taxes, that people would look at him as having a lack of character, right? A lack of self-worth for voting people that see his gay lifestyle as deviant. So, of course, he headed to the internet, posted online, articles that had nothing to do with his true intention. Did I help at all? I don't know, because he immediately blocked me and then gave me dirty looks from afar when I saw him in person. So I don't know if it helped. So why am I bringing all this up? Seems like I'm just bullshitting this episode with you. But I swear I have a reason. A couple years ago, I said Democrats should invest in a PR firm because that's where we're headed. A majority of Republicans vote against their own self-interest. You can't win them with critical thinking anymore. It's all about the show. And it's indicative when you look at the dumbest people in this country who've been given megaphones. G.E.D. Bobart. Jewish space lasers, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Underage girls, Matt Gaetz. Fabricating evidence, Byron Donaldson. The list goes on and up the chain until you get to their most successful businessman ever, the guy who went bankrupt 4 times, 2 of those being casinos. You see what I'm saying? How do you expect to win by going high when this is who makes up the opposition party in this country. And finally, this last week, the Democrats have started tipping their toes into getting a little bit dirty. I'm sure you've all seen it by now, but here's what Biden and Harris put out. Donald Trump is weak and desperate, both as a man and a candidate for president. I like it already. He spent this weekend golfing, the morning comparing himself to Jesus, $60 Bibles, and the afternoon lying about having money he definitely doesn't have. His campaign can't raise money. He is uninterested in campaigning outside the country club, and every time he opens his mouth, he pushes moderate and suburban voters away with his dangerous agenda. America deserves better than a feeble, confused, and tired Donald Trump. Finally, more of this. You're not going to win the high road with a party who prioritizes education so low that they let kids get murdered in school every single day with guns in this country. But at least this way, the morons sin by watching, the morons in the stand, they'll at least see you fighting. And as sad as it may seem at this point, I'm sorry, Michelle Obama, but at this point, if that helps us keep a fascist out of the White House, if that keeps Christo-fascists off the courts, then that's the price we have to pay. If you like this episode, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here a while, you think I'm doing a good job, you can become a member. The Chud Report.
No, our motto is when they go low,
We go lower.